Hello, hi, good morning, y'all morning. How you all doing? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 18 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour, and it is the 18th day of September in the year 2025. How you been? I hope you're good. I hope you survived yesterday. Well, you are here, so that is testimony to you surviving yesterday. I hope you've had a restful night. I sincerely hope that you have rested and recuperated and you're energized enough to face the challenges of this new day. Remember that the only thing constant is change. The only thing constant is change. And so as human beings, as elements of this society, since we do not live in bubbles and we don't live on the rocks, we too have to be prepared to adapt to changes if we're going to survive the challenges which confront us. So I want to encourage you this morning, don't be stuck in the past, don't be stuck in your ways, don't be stuck on the negatives, but rather look forward and look forward with positivity. Because like I keep saying, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to be prepared to dig your way to the end of the tunnel to get to that light. Don't give up. Don't make them trick you and trap you. I see a number of things are unfolding, even while I say, as for me, the elections are concluded. It seems as though we don't ever have a conclusive elections in this country. Right? It seems as though we do not ever have a conclusive election in this country. We have an electoral fix, which people say, all right, that's workable. We could work with put a band-aid on it and it can last. And so even as I am saying in my mind, these elections are over, done with. Parliamentary representatives are named. Regional representatives are named. Well, I don't know if regional representatives are named, but definitely regional declarations have been made. I am reading and I'm seeing evidence of so many things wrong with the outcomes of the election, the declarations of the elections. Instructive enough. I always respect Jaipur Sharma. He's a man for detail. And that is why he was a good fit perhaps in the Ministry of Finance there with Winston Jordan back in the 2015-2020 APNU government. He was junior finance minister, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Jordan will correct that if I'm wrong when he comes on this morning, which will be shortly. But Jaipal from some time now, I've noticed that he has a very analytical mind. I've had reason to interview him and so on previously during the APNU government of 2015-2020. He has a very analytical mind. And so I'm not surprised that he's among those who continue to point out all that is wrong with GCOM's declaration. All that is wrong. I see his most recent post is showing, I think in region 10, GCOM miscalculating or misrepresenting the outcome of the election by almost 5,000 votes, or a little more, or little over 5,000 votes. And I think in his declaration, he says, listen, the GCOM has robbed the PPPSC. They need to go to an election petition. You think the PPP going to any election petition? Huh? But Linden seems to always have a problem with they seem to always have a problem with seats and the PPP in Linden. When in this instance, when they're not robbing themselves of a seat, according to Jaipal, they are robbing others of a seat. Some years ago, they robbed the AFC of a seat, and Samines unashamedly sat in that seat for 5+ years, or for 5 years, right? So we have to continue to pay attention to these things. And I don't know what is the deadline date by which election petitions can be filed after the declarations have been made. But I think from the time the declarations have been made and Ali has been sworn in and so on, I think I've seen enough evidence out there for people to approach the courts to make a determination on the elections. But whether or not it will happen is an issue for the political bigwigs. It's an issue for the Azruddin Mohammeds or Win Party. It's an issue for the APNU. Don't count the the PPP in that, because they ain't got no interest in no petition, right? And for me, I think there have been legitimate cause for Azruddin Mohammed and Win to lead the charge, because from even the faulty declarations, they seem to be the winners in this instance. At least they came out ahead of APNU in this instance. And so if you are, quote unquote, a legitimate main opposition party, if you're the main opposition party in this cycle, then you have to behave like the main opposition party, and you have to lead. And lead, I would say, Azudin has attempted to do, in that one of his earliest calls is that, look, all those opposition nominated commissioners at GCOM, you all resign. You all resign so that I could choose who I want to represent the opposition there. That is showing some gumption, that is showing some gall, that is showing a willingness to lead. But is that the only frontier that needs leadership? You have to lead in all realms, bro. And in this instance, I think they call for some leadership. We see GCOM is starting another round of continuous registration. Are we going to allow GCOM to do another continuous registration without biometrics? Without insisting that biometrics be included in this round of registration? We need leadership there. As the main opposition party, we have to step forward and lead. You can't get a tail wagging the dog. You don't want the APNU stepping forward and leading these fights. They had their time to fight. The jury is still out whether they fought hard enough or they failed to fight hard enough. The jury is still out on them, and many are saying that they didn't fight hard enough, and that is why the tables are flipped the way they are flipped. And so people are saying, we ain't got confidence in the APNU to fight for us. As we didn't be giving you the blessings to fight for us. Go out there and fight. What are you waiting for? I want to see those fights started. Biometrics, I want to see those fights started. Election petition, I want to see those fights started. We must not roll over and show the world that we are prepared to accept any old thing that is thrown at us because it maybe appeases the situation. It is not what we deserve. It is not what the true outcomes are, but it's an appeasement. We have been accepting too many appeasements in this society. Okay, let's go to an advertisement before we try to get Mr. Jordan.
Planning a party? Worry no more. We have all the supplies you need. At EC Party Rentals, we have folding chairs, folding tables, square tables, round tables, long tables, short tables, big tables. We have chairs, red chairs, gold chairs, white chairs, crystal chairs, chairs of all types. Throne chairs, what you want, we have. Food warmers, coolers, ice, beverages. At EC Party Rentals, we have what you need to have a good time. You plan the party, we do the work. Call us 622-5933. Easy Party Rentals. Let's keep your party going.
Are you looking for tents to rent? Well, look no further. At EC Party Rentals, Sideline and Buxton North, we have tents in all sizes and colors. All sizes of tents we have. Small tents, big tents, medium tents, extra large tents. Call us on 622-5933. We have what you need. EC Party Rentals. Big on tents. You see, somebody is asking, why do we think that WIN would want a recount in Region 10? Right? Why WIN would want a recount in Region 10? You see, that for me is the difference between mice and men. Because in many instances, once the outcome suits us, we are prepared to relax on it. We don't look to the long-term gains or losses to the society. Right? We don't look to that. Now, I remember I show you that extensive video about the results of the elections in Jamaica. And persons saying, listen, we don't care who win or lose. We are concerned about the issues which arose out of the declarations or the contestations for these elections. We are concerned that if allowed to pass in this instance, it is something that will become bigger in the long run, because we give it a pass now, and then we're going to give it a pass again, and we're going to give it a pass again and again, and then we're going to end up with a monster like the PPP. That is what leadership should concern itself with. Not because the outcome suits me, it is acceptable. Does winning a region with a faulty declaration make me the real winner? Or does it make this society a better place? I don't think it does. I don't think it does. And as I'm talking about that, there's some interesting battles which will unfold when they come to the regional democratic councils. I already see in Region 4 a situation where the PPP, I think, has 17 seats. The APNU has 9 seats. WIN has 8 seats. And Forward Guyana Movement has 1 seat. You know what that means there? It means that Forward Guyana is the kingmaker in that situation. Because if Forward Guyana were to give their 1 seat support to the PPP, then the PPP gets 18 seats, which will be more than the APNU 9 and Nazarene 8 put together, which is 70. Likewise, if the APNU and WIN agree to come together and they convince Forward Guyana Movement to join the band, then the 3 of them will have among them 18 seats. Those are more than what the PPP will have. And so the toss-up at Region 4 is really going to be who has more to offer. Who has more to offer? Because like I said, this country, democracy in this country looks like who could spend more, who got more gifts to give. So the question is, who has more to offer at Region 4 for that majority? Because what is at stake at Region 4 RDC would be things like the chairmanship, the vice chairmanship, chairmanship of critical committees like the finance committee, the works committee, and stuff like that. And so a lot of horse trading has to take place at Region 4 there. Because, for example, the PPP has an entire government. And what if they come to the Forward Guyana Movement and say, listen, give us your vote for us to get a chairmanship and vice chairmanship. And in exchange, we will give you the finance committee or the works committee. The works committee is a big committee, you know. A lot of money is passed through the committee there. Or better yet, give us your vote at the region, and in the National Assembly, we will give you the Public Accounts Committee. You see what I'm saying? Or give us your vote at the region, and in exchange, we will give one of your executives a permanent secretary job. I am just, as they like to say, being the devil's advocate. I'm showing you the many things that can play out. Or let me throw the big one at you. Give us your votes at the region, and we will drop the Lamborghini charges. Give us your votes at the region, and we're going to instruct the bankers to reinstate the accounts of all of the people that we instructed them to close. You see what I'm saying? So Region 4 is a real toss-up region right now. There's so many angles at which I can come from it, but I don't want to spend too much more time on that. Tomorrow is Free Talk Friday, so tomorrow I will continue this line of discourse. Let me see if I get Mr. Jordan. But I give you all something to think about. I hope so. I hope you all got something to think about. Who is willing to pay to play? I think that is what our democracy comes down to. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody to say anybody is corrupt and so on, but they say all politics is local. Mr. Jordan, good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning. How are you doing?
You know, boys, another Thursday. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Thankful Thursday, man. Glad to be in the land of the living. And, we say that like if it's a refrain, but it has a special meaning, especially in these days when increasingly people that especially well, seem to be answering the call to go to the great beyond. I remember July the 10th when my great friend Leroy Charles died. Then a couple of weeks ago, George Edwards died, who was, I hearing some echo in the background, Kidaki. Kidaki? Yeah, right. And now Elizabeth Harper is the latest. All three dying from cancer. I knew Elizabeth Harper, not very well, but we had to interact as a result of my being budget director for a very long time, and of course being Minister of Finance. So foreign affairs would have had a special, be paid a special attention by the Ministry of Finance. All right, and but she was also known perhaps even more to my wife, who worked at the CARICOM Secretariat and interface and had to interface a lot with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She's kind of like a rags to riches in the reverse, in that she started from the very bottom as a clerk in the registry of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and rose to the top. I see some people ignorantly saying that she rose from Director General to Permanent Secretary. I say ignorant because a lot of people don't even understand. They don't do the research and they don't see understand. Director General and Permanent Secretary are one and the same post. One wasn't higher than the other. What happened is that around 1990, I think this might have been around 1992 or thereabouts, when President Desmond Hoyt made some radical changes to ministries and to prominent secretaries. Those were the days when he brought in people like Nigel Gravesandi, Cheryl Gopal, Paula Mohammed, right, and so on, Adonis, and so on, as permanent secretaries. And at the same time, following tradition perhaps in Latin America, they changed the position, the top position in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to Director General, right? Those who travel a lot and have any understanding how Latin America does the thing, they don't really have an office of the president. They have a Ministry of the Presidency, which was copied by the coalition government. We didn't have an office of the president. We had a Ministry of the Presidency, which is kind of a bit of a unconstitutional, I may say, because the Constitution speaks about the office of the president. But we had a Ministry of the Presidency. And so back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they changed the title from Permanent Secretary to Director General. So, and I think David Hills might have been the first Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I could be wrong on that, but after 1992, when the government exited, Director General continued, I believe, until fairly recently when it went back to permanent secretary. So Elizabeth Harper was director general at one time and permanent secretary. Here's a tidbit though. At one time I was having a gap with a good friend from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I asked him if he remembered that at one time the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had two permanent secretaries. He said he could not remember such, and I tell him I'm adamant that I remember that in the 1980s, perhaps the late 1980s, um, might have been even early 1990s, but I have a feeling the late 1980s, that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had two permanent secretaries. One was administration and one was foreign policy, right? One was administration, the other one was foreign policy. Yeah, so we find these anomalies, director general up to permanent secretary, back to director general and stuff. In fact, this whole nomenclature and foreign, either Latin America or some other place, has become in vogue now. One recalls that Carl Greenidge had to resign his position as Minister of Foreign Affairs as a result of being a dual citizen. He was redesignated Foreign Secretary, which, as you well know, is a British nomenclature for their foreign minister, right? Britain has a home secretary and they have a foreign secretary. They don't have a minister of foreign affairs, but they have a foreign secretary. So technically then, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had two ministers of finance, in a sense. Sorry, Minister of Foreign Affairs, in a sense, right? The real Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was Karen Cummins, who took over from Carl Greenidge, and perhaps the real Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carl Greenidge, who was now redesignated Foreign Secretary. Because quite frankly, I'm not sure what was his new responsibilities as Foreign Secretary. And so copy and write from what the coalition left. You have two foreign ministers now in the foreign ministry. You have UTAD, who's designated Minister for Foreign Affairs and I think International Cooperation. And then you have Robert Prasad, who has been designated Foreign Secretary. And again, you don't know what is his responsibilities. The other thing, of course, I've been searching the estimates and I couldn't find the position Foreign Secretary. Maybe I have to go back again. But there's no such designation on my first research of Foreign Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that is one to contemplate. And shout out again. See some of the work that the MP is going to have to do. And I'm going to come back to that because I like how you have been putting them under the microscope over the last week and a half or two. We will come back to it anyhow. So I was just trying to give you this. Of course, you had in the last government a director general in the Ministry of Agriculture, right? And this director general has now been made a minister. We'll come to that also. So all this bloated bureaucracy, continues to eat away at our financing that we've been blessed with, while the critical areas are being left exposed. I heard a minister who's no longer a minister is going to be redesignated Director General in the Ministry of Agriculture. So the job for the boys continue. And other designations are like the Chief of Defense Staff. Before we had a Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force. Now we're having a Chief of Defense Staff. On the coalition government, instead of having a head of the Presidential Secretariat, we had a Minister of State, which caused a lot of confusion. I'm sure poor Joe Harmon had to keep explaining because a Minister of State tends to be a junior position. But in the Latin American sense, a minister of state is a very senior minister, as Joe Harmon was, a very senior minister. But tell that to the Americans and the English and so on. They know a minister of state is like a minister in the ministry, a junior minister. So sometimes the nomenclature doesn't raise your profile. Yeah, so it's unfortunate, a very good soul, gone to the great beyond, had a very distinguished career. Perhaps she might be the force to admit that her unsuccessful foray in politics in 2011 might have been a blemish on her otherwise stellar career. That is what politics does to you sometimes, because she had to resign her post at the foreign ministry to canvass and campaign as a candidate, as the prime ministerial candidate designate of the Ramatar presidency. And as we know by now, in 2015, sorry, not 2011, in 2015. And we know by now, Ramatar lost, the coalition came into power, and Elizabeth Harper was out of a job. But to the great credit of the coalition government, recognizing her strengths and her skill set, she was immediately recruited to work with Kyle Greenidge and his other members on this whole Venezuela-Guyana border controversy. And from all indications, she did an excellent job. So she will be missed. She is among the last of a breed of caliber foreign service officers. There are very few of that caliber remaining in the foreign ministry. And if the government had any sense, they will take advantage of the few that are left and give them the freedom and the autonomy to help develop that ministry into a world-class ministry, because we're going to need that, rather than seeking to run foreign affairs from out of the office of the president, even though you have two ministers in there right now. And in that regard, the recent appointment of Mrs. Rupchan from the tourism ministry to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should put a question mark on it. Not because she may be not competent or so on. She's a good technician. She came from the university setting. She was a lecturer at University again in the Department of Economics, and then was recruited from there to become permanent secretary in the tourism ministry. As you know, she herself had lost her husband, George Edwards, recently, as I said, to cancer. And she's now been shifted to the foreign ministry. As far as I can remember, the foreign ministry, the permanent secretary in the foreign ministry, has always been somebody who grew up in that ministry or had fairly extensive knowledge of foreign policy and so on. Rupchan may very well be the force in recent years to not have a foreign policy grounding or background. And it's really unfortunate what we're doing, because in a land that is scarce of human resources, we seem to be taking the few that we have and mismatching their skills, their skill set. Were I in charge, I would have looked upon a person like Mrs. Rupchan and put her, say, in a ministry like the finance ministry, because that ministry doesn't play a great role in this development trust, especially in the absence of a Ministry of Economic Development, and put her in that there to lead a unit, a development planning unit. That will be the best use of our skill. While upgrading one of the portions of ambassadorial rank within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to become permanent secretary. And as I said, they have very few remaining in that ministry who came through the ranks and who have extensive foreign policy experience. So it's a mismatch of skills. I've seen they've taken Dr. Erica Fort, who's a medical doctor, and put her in some administrative position outside of the health ministry. That is what we're doing. We're short of doctors. And now we're taking medical doctors and putting them in some other place, parliamentary secretary or something like that, and loosen them while. This is not the best use of skills under any circumstance, much less a circumstance where we are extremely short of skills in these critical areas of health, economics, and so on. So that will be my bit of opening. May she rest in peace and rise in glory. Well, by now, you know that I'm back home. I left on September the 6th, Saturday, September the 6th. And let me give you a little bit of my experience. You know, I have to give you this. So I arrived at Timeri Airport, do all the checking in and so on. And of course, now going to the immigration part, where they have these new, what you call them, those machines that you have to put your passport and then take a biometric picture, and then the gates open and then they walk through and so on. I've spoken about this before, right? Because when I was going out in May, my first experience with it wasn't a very pleasant one. Again, go on there, put passport, and the biometric doesn't come up. It keeps going wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong, which means probably have a bandwidth problem. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the immigration people. Has nothing to do with the immigration. You know, I promoted the immigration as extremely, should be the extreme face of the police force, right? They're very, very competent set of people who have shown that police don't have to be of the kind that we seem to have them. But so there you have it. The gates can't open, things keep going wrong and wrong, which means, as I said, bandwidth is either short or it's not large enough or so on. So the gates now are abandoned. And you now have to go to immigration officers now to do the old time thing now of question this, that, and then stamp your passport. But that in any case, as you remember from me, what I told you, gates are supposed to replace all the voluminous work and effort that immigration officers got to do. But instead of replacing, it merely added, right? Because in May, after I got past the gates, using the gates that they were working, I then had to go to an immigration officer to stamp out my passport and to said, oh, hold on, wait a minute, let me go into some room to check and give me some spiel about, oh, this check members of parliament and so on. But long and short, as I said, she was a very pleasant lady and you got through. This time around, it's full out immigration because the gate's not working. You got to go to immigration officers, right? Coming back in, I already signed up online the forms for incoming passengers to Guyana. Already done that. Gone to the immigration officer, give her the passport. She puts it in her, swipes it in her machine. Clearly there's a problem because nothing apparently is coming up. So she asked me, did you sign up on the online? I said, yes, of course. Do you have a copy of the number or any evidence of it? I take out my other phone and I show her the thing. She takes the number, puts it into the computer and so on. And apparently the information comes up. And okay, so I would think everything is hunky-dory now. Not really, it's not hunky-dory. She then proceeds to say, when did you leave Guyana? I'm like, huh? How long did you spend outside? Huh? What was the purpose of your visit outside? Huh? I'm like, what is this? So what is the purpose of filling up the form online? If these questions are to be asked, well, then put it on the online form. Put it on the online form. That poor lady doesn't have to go through all of this. I'm sure it's given her. I'm like, she's like, okay, you're asking everybody to sign up on online, but then you completely asking them all these other questions again. If these questions are questions that you need for whatever purpose, whether it's statistical purposes or what, put it on the form. Put it on the form. Otherwise, what's the purpose of this technology? It's not working. It's not working. And then the other thing is that, look, many of us have done a lot of travel to understand that we not seem to be getting it in Guyana. We not seem to be getting it. What if you're asking for more and more flights to come into Guyana? What if 2 jumbo land in Guyana? When are you going to when are you going to be able to process those 2 jumbos? You can't process it with the kind of policies you have in respect of incoming passengers. You can't. Why do you have to ask incoming resident Guyanese citizens all these foolish questions? Take the passport, swipe it, stamp it, and say, welcome home. That is 30 to 40 seconds. Don't ask me when I left, what I was doing outside, and all this story. That's not your business. Because in any case, if I answer you, how you gonna know whether I answer you correctly or not? Why do you want to know why I went abroad? Why? Why? Where you stay, how long you spend. All them things, if you want to know how long you spend, I think it was on the farm before. Put it on the thing. How many countries you visited while you were away? That used to be on the farm before. Put it on the farm. You're wasting time having those poor immigration officers sit there and asking all these questions, taking up time. And you want to expand the airport, new arrivals terminal or whatever the case may be. When you bring in hundreds of thousands of people here, how long are you going to take to clear them with all of these different questions? There must be a different set of questions for resident Guyanese versus visitors coming in, real visitors coming in. Because I can't be a visitor if I went out for a week and come back here. I'm a resident Guyanese. I'm a resident Guyanese. And all that information is supposed to be on your computer when you swipe. Swipe the passport, stamp it, and say, welcome home. Next. That's 40 seconds. Now, it's a different story if you're a visitor, non-Guyanese, or whatever the case may be. But at all times, try to make Guyanese citizens and residents welcome to come back into Guyana. Nowhere else is going to do it, but they must feel welcome coming home. And their first port of call is the immigration. That is why I like, places like the European Union and so on. No big fuss. You got a European Union passport, boop, 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 boop. I see this thing, I'm like, oh my goodness. Speed, 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 speed. British citizen, going into Britain, speed, 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 speed. Only in Guyana. And when we can stop this thing but stamping out and stamping in? Jamaica, Barbados, all these countries have gone past that. But we just seem to want to add layers and layers and layers, put in new machines, and then have the same previous system that you were using with manpower and so on. So we just adding further bureaucracy to bureaucracy. This has nothing to do with immigration. As I said, the immigration officers are the fantastic set of people that work under great pressure and so on. I know they listen to this program, so on. It has nothing to do with them. But I'm talking to the bosses. Digital transformation, digital, and you still can't get it right. When it comes to the use of basic equipment and so on. You go to airports, New York, anywhere, you do your own check-in at the machines. Speed, bop, 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 bop. Basic stuff you bring here, and 2 months it work, next month it doesn't work, and so on. You're back to basic. That is what we think. Don't introduce the technology if we don't it all. And one the way with all is bandwidth. Bandwidth. We don't seem to have bandwidth, and we don't have a reliable internet service in Guyana. None of the 3 or 4 service providers is able to give you a reliable service. And until that, don't introduce more and more technology that requires expanding bandwidth and reliable bandwidth, because we're only embarrassing ourselves. It makes no sense. We have gates, and then you have to bypass those gates and go to a regular immigration. And which one is more important, going out or coming in? You must have a system in place where you can use your immigration officers far more on the priority area. Is the priority area going out, or is the priority area coming in? And if you're going to use biometric, the biometric automatically, if you use biometric through the gates, that will automatically signal, if your computer is working and so on, whether an individual who is going out is wanted, shouldn't be going out, or whatever the case may be. The fact that you have to station people there, as indeed you have to, as you seem to be doing now, you have to station people at roundabouts. You have to station policemen at roundabouts. It means you don't trust the technology, or the technology is not working. As indeed roundabouts on the serious highway, you got policemen directing you into the roundabout. What's the purpose of the roundabout? In the afternoon, policemen all over Mandela Avenue directing traffic at the various intersections. Something is wrong. That is not the best use of manpower. It means something is wrong. Your lights maybe want adjusting or something in the sort, combination of stuff. But if you have every afternoon at every junction on the Mandela Avenue Highway and the roundabouts on the Heroes Highway, you have to put a policeman, how that can be the best use of human resource. Anyway, so I was there from the 6th. Had a real lovely time. I missed my usual jaunt for Labor Day. So I took opportunity of a Caribbean Airlines promotion where they were allowing you to use your points as long as you traveled after the 5th, I think it was, or the 4th, something. So I was very happy. I got lots of points with Caribbean Airlines, and I don't know how I will use them and so on, but that was a good opportunity to use a points ticket and to sit down in some comfort with the points ticket. And so I had a really good time. Lots of people I met, lots of people. Once they knew I was in New York, they called and they wanted long discussions and meetings and so on. And I accommodated as many as I could. I didn't realize I was so popular. Kanaki are probably more popular than you, buddy. It's among the number of people I met is unbelievable. But in all this, I want to remember the meeting with my 2 good friends from University of Guyana, Jackie Hamo and Glennis Adams. We had a rollicking time at lunch at the Fusion in Brooklyn there. Over 3 hours of gaff and remembrance and dissecting the election results and whatnot and so on. Over 3 hours. Over good, not so good food, but we had some decent drinks and so on. 2 perfect margaritas could loosen your tongue a lot. Yes. So Glennis and Jackie, thanks very much for lunch. And then I had dinner with Mr. Reggie Weeks and Paul Slow. Again, that was at the door, somewhere in Queens here. Again, lengthy discussions, over 3 hours, I think it was, of discussions and so on. And fabulous. That was a great dinner and fabulous conversation and so on. And especially to Mr. Weeks, thank you for everything. I must say, it's people like you who give me hope to carry on, and you're a joy to meet. I was happy taking the photograph with your grandson, who looks uncannily like my grandson. And I look forward to many more meetings, including as you would like meeting your family and so on. And of course, I had other engagements over cocktails and so on. So all in all, it was a really good time, and it came in quite handy, especially, as you know, the raucousness and the foolishness that attended my, and it actually was not my, but Demerara Waves foolishness. And as I said last week, people who either took Demerara Waves at their words or took the word of somebody who heard from somebody who heard from somebody and so on, and some of the viciousness and nastiness that came afterwards, especially from 99% of the people who don't know a thing about me. Not a single thing they don't know about me. They don't know about my upbringing. They don't know about my lifestyle. They don't know about my culture. Nothing. Right? And 1 or 2 who might have known came out swinging. It's a good thing I was able to wear a helmet and a chest guard and so on. Otherwise, I will be permanently maimed or 6 feet or 6 feet below, But like I said, amazingly, what a difference some 2 hours make. Because now, now, people are singing the same things that I said. I was bold enough to say it and say it loudly. Singing the same things. I don't want to go back down the road, but singing the same things. Because, as I said then, last week Thursday, I will speak my truth, and no one will stop me from speaking my truth. This is the problem we have in this society. We're so afraid of speaking the truth and speaking out that we wallow in our misery and our sorrow. People calling me from time calling me since I reach home. I could show you text message, all kinds of texting me. Well, for tell me that you were correct, we're sorry, and they wanted me to say. I said, I'm not saying anything that you want me to say. I say my thing. You want to say something, go say it publicly. There's somebody afraid or this gonna happen. Man, I don't think, man, a pensioner, nothing can happen to me. They can't take away pension. Pension is a constitutional right. So they can't take away me pension. Me ain't gonna depend on anybody for anything. And my life has been one of conservatism. Yes, Mr. Who said, is my conservative policies, my conservative fiscal policies that make the APNU lose. The APNU lose in 2025. I could tell him it's the profligate policies of the 1970s and the 1980s that got me where we are today. And I'm talking here about Guyanese of African descent. Because being public servants and being people on fixed incomes, any structural adjustment program, especially of the kind that we had, repeated structural adjustment programs, especially of the kinds what we had, will decimate the incomes, the already meager incomes earned by people of African descent. It brought tears to my eyes while I was a minister that I could not do anything substantial for people, managers, prominent secretaries, and all of them whose incomes were decimated on the continuous structural adjustment programs. And it hurt me more that the likes of the Jagdios and them set themselves up correctly and left all them public servants behind. Because it was Jagdio who, recognizing when his second term was up and that his income was next to nothing, brought a bill to move his income in line with the Chief Justice or thereabout, so that pension that is calculated on your salary, he will get a fat pension. But he wasn't even satisfied with that. They brought another bill now saying that the pension of a president will be 7/8, not of the income that he left when he demitted office, but it will be 7/8 of the current salary of the current president. Get that straight. But public servants weren't so lucky. They weren't so lucky. They continue to draw pension based on what was their income when they retired. And so when you have those structural adjustment programs for public servants generally and all the fixed income, most of the people on fixed income in this country are people of African descent. And so inflation, structural adjustment programs, and all of these will bite into their income tremendously. They don't have the fortune. They don't have the fortune. And they don't seem to be able to have the guidance and the leadership to get the government to do the necessary changes. All them 20 years, 23 years, when they were accustomed to 5% here, 6% here, all those years when they were playing off one set of workers against the other, give a 1% to teachers in addition to the 5%, nothing for the public servants. Give the soldiers and the discipline services 1 month bonus at Christmas, but give nobody else. They didn't complain. The unions did not complain. And all those Facebook terriers and terrors didn't complain. It's the Pope's teacher, not nurse and doctor and customs and all them who had to fight. Who had to fight in the 1999 Great Strike in this country. Yes. And the management of the teachers, they think that they're a special breed. They didn't want to join the public servants. That disunity continued right there in the 2025 election. We'll probably come to it. But I'm just trying to show you. The teachers didn't want to be joined with the public servants and show the level of unity. No, they didn't. They wanted separate arbitration. They went to separate arbitration. I was a member of the government team on the arbitration that was headed by Father Rodriguez, Malcolm Rodriguez. And you know what? They ended up with 10 and 12%. The teachers ended up with 10 and 12% in that 1999 fiasco. The public servants went on their own. And after mightily holding the government for 57 days or something like that, they ended up with Aubrey Armstrong. I think Jeffrey was the Minister of Labor at the time. Ended up with Aubrey Armstrong. Ended up being represented by Clive Thomas. Gobin Gango was the government's other thing. And I again was on that arbitration. And the public servants ended up with 31.07% in the first year and 26.66% in the second year. And immediately the teachers frowned and said they got to get that too. You see, they didn't want, their administration didn't want to join with the public servants and make one head. But as soon as the public servants got some gains, the teachers then frowned and said they got to get it too. The division, they have always succeeded in dividing. And we go like lamb to the slaughter with the division. Lamb to the slaughter, the division. There's no unity whatsoever. But we got sycophants and all of them. The only who have shown any loyalty, only people who got the knowledge and the history and so on, they go to fight them down. That's what we good for. And our enemies sit back and laugh at us. Laugh at us because we good at abusing. We got little on fighting, but we good at abusing. Call a protest and you get two people. And two people who are prominent protesters. But on Facebook, you get and they take out a picture and they laugh. Kiki. It's only two people he could get. But that's what we good for. That is why, unfortunately, poor Guyana, no place for the person of African descent or the people of African descent. If we got time, we'll talk about a letter that the Kumu Uganse wrote yesterday. But anyhow, and so again, coming back home on Sunday, sat down there, and no less than 15 people told me hi, I think I know you, yes, and so on. One lady profusely hugged me and said she always wanted to meet me and so on. Lovely lady, thank you. And one guy said hi, went past and come back. And he said, Mr. Jordan, I said, yes. He said, man, glad to meet you. I always wanted to meet you. He said, my name is McDonald, and I'm from Belgium. He said, I live over here now, but I'm from Belgium. I'm going home and get some business done. He says, I listen to you all the time, He said, when Sem taught to meet and young come on, I just want to know what this man Kedaki doing. That's exactly what he said, Kedaki. I'm making it up. That's what he said. He want to know what this man Kedaki doing. So you better take Sem taught. As the time, the man says he got the ears cocked, waiting for me to come on. Thank you, Mr. McDonald from Belgium. A lovely village on the west coast of Bobis, rich in African history. It's time we bring back our African village.
I hope you're still with us. Please stay with us. We've had some technical difficulties as usual. I don't know what it is due to we, but he just got knocked off. But we're going to come on back. Mr. Jordan, I'll make contact with him shortly, and he's going to be back on. I don't know. It's serious warfare, you know. I don't think this thing is run of the mill. Don't think it's simple. It has its own challenges. But we have to be prepared to fight on and don't give up. Good. So let me see if I get Mr. Jordan back for you. I'm calling you from the computer, but I'm not getting you. This is from the phone. You want to try calling me? Let's see what be the outcome. Yeah, I'm getting you on the phone. The computer ain't giving me no justice. And I rather us do the calls on the phone, on the computer, because it's easier technically. So give me a minute. One more minute. We got time. It's we time, you know. Once you got time, I got time. All right, good. I'm hanging up and try again. Good.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so we got it. We got you back on, and I think you were at the point of talking about I think McDonald's from
Belladrum.
But
there's an echo.
I was tempted to ask you. I know there's an echo. We're gonna fix it just now. I was tempted to ask you if you didn't ask McDonald for any contribution to the program, since he is so adamant that he must come on at 7:30.
Well, put it this way: he may not. He probably listening. He probably listening to you now, and he knows that he has to send his contribution. But the important thing for McDonald is that he and his family, who knows, and his friends might be listening to, and he may spread the word. So that is how this program is really. I'm always impressed by the number of people who come to me and say they hear me on Kodaki. You know, so I don't know how. Huh?
And you know, Mr. Jordan, when you say perhaps you're more popular than I am, I don't mind, you know, because you've been in public office for perhaps most of my life. Apart from that, I'm happy that my platform has contributed to your international recognition.
I love that.
I'm a king and a star maker, you know. Don't fool yourself. Proceed, sir.
Yes.
Over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So moving on, right? There's a lot to unpack, but I don't think we'll be able to get all of it done today. But life is not finishing today. Moving on, they had this fire in Albistown, and I really commiserate with those who have lost um, property. Happily, no life was lost, as I understood it, of lost property. And I think one of the things that should come out of that fire is that the government should move post haste to bring a law that requires all renters of property to have insurance, and not only have insurance, but to have a comfortable insurance, if you want to put it that way, on the property. It is not that. It is not that. It would have been any comfort to the tenants, because the landlord having insurance doesn't mean that the tenants have the insurance. It's his property that is being insured. But I think some things have to be done. There are too many slumlords and slums that have been converted into residences and so on. And so we need if it's the fire department, if it's the Ministry of Public Works, if it's the electrical people, we need the mayor and city council, the sanitation people to work, so that when you call their number, somebody's born in copper, right? Then the police and the mayor can work in tandem. The police to find out whether it's stolen copper, because of late the GT&T, with their name, One Communication, have been complaining bitterly that copper has been their service is being affected by people stealing copper. And they know that they're still using copper things. I thought they're using fiber, but in some areas apparently they still have copper, right? So from the time that happens, a call can be made to the fire service, the police, the mayor and city council sanitation department. These places got to work. Got to work. It's time we rise up against these shoddy services. But many of these places, shoddy or no service, or no service. But basic things, the main city council is good at complaining. But basic things like these, you get a call that somebody's born in copper, then there should be some kind of interlinkage between them, police and fire, torn up. Because all three of those places, maybe more, public health and so on, might be involved in exactly what is going on. But one of the takeaway. The other takeaway, of course, as I said, if you're going to rent a building, it must be insured. It must be insured. And such buildings must have periodic inspections by the various people, public health, fire, electrical, and so on. And insurance must be renewed periodically to take account of inflation and the times. We need to get, those are basic laws we need to put in place. But that was an aside. What got me is a headline in the Guyana Times, mouthpiece of the government, dated September the 12th, 2025. And there were similar mouthpieces of the government, iNews, Newsroom, and so on, who carried similar lines to Guyana Times. The headline was, All Boys Town fire got 3 billions, 30 persons displaced. That was the headline. And part of the article says, quote, Minister of Home Affairs, Rupson Ben, and Public Works Minister Bishop Juan Edgehill, and I think the Newsroom article had also included Minister of Trade, Tourism and Industry, Onage Wald Run. All right, but the other Times article didn't have that. So let me go it over again. Quote, Minister of Home Affairs Rupson Ben and Public Works Minister Bishop Juan Edgehill also visited the scene and engaged the affected persons as authorities carried out their assessments. End of quote. Now, what is wrong with that story there? What is wrong with that story is the appellation of Minister of Home Affairs in the case of Rupson Ben and Public Works Minister in the case of Bishop Juan Edgehill. at the time when they visited that fire, they were not ministers. Article 183.3c of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana says, quote, the office of any minister shall become vacant on the election of any person to the office of president pursuant to provisions of Article 177. Well, we don't have to worry about provisions of Article 177. The operative phrase, clause in there is that the office of any minister shall become vacant on the election of any person to the office of the president. Mohammed Orphan Ali was sworn in as president on September 7th. This fire took place September 12th or 11th, one of the two. Almost a week after he was sworn in. So ministers didn't exist. At precise time when Mohammed Orphan Ali took the oath of president, all ministers cease to exist. Not only do they cease to exist and that their offices no longer exist, but that they must hand over all government property and their office secured and the keys handed over to whoever is the permanent secretary. The question is, when they made those visits, did they make the visits in property that belonged to the state, aka the vehicle that was assigned to them when they were ministers? Did they give back? Is there proof? Can the permanent secretaries, can the auditor general show us proof that these property of the government were handed over on September the 7th when these people ceased to be ministers? Or were they continuously driving their cars? Did they continuously have access to drivers and so on? People don't know these things. They don't know these things. They will tell you on August the 2nd, 2020, they run to the different ministries to secure government assets. I know they didn't have to run to mine because on that Sunday, I called my ex-driver and told him to collect the car that I had. And he came the Monday morning. He drove it to the ministry. The vehicle that I had was already parked at the ministry because the vehicle never was parked at my house. As I see so many, including ministers who's in my street, government property parked in front of the house. Not me. My vehicle was permanently parked at the Ministry of Finance. My driver will come early morning, drive his car or his motorcycle to the ministry, clean the vehicle, and come to pick me up at home. When I finish my meetings and whatnot, 10, 11 o'clock in the night, or Parliament, he will take me home, he drive the vehicle right back to the Ministry of Finance. Not so. People use their vehicle as if it's their property. I see it at their homes. As if it's their property. And use it for all kinds of different things, except the government work. So the question is here, did these people return all government property on September the 7th when they ceased to be ministers? That's what the law said. And if, and in what capacity did Onijwal run One Edgil and Robeson Ben go to that fire? Did they go there as interested citizens? Did they go there as representatives of Mr. President? Because it's only he was recognized at that time. Oh, I think he swore in a vice president and a prime minister soon thereafter. Only those three persons. Did they go as the personal attaché representatives of Mr. President? Did they go? Did they go there as that? No, not according to this article. They go there in some capacity called minister that they were not. That they were not. So, Mr. MPs and y'all who masquerade, I'm going to talk about y'all just now. Put that one down as your first question to be asked, whether they would have turned over all of government property, and you want to see the evidence and the keys to their office. And the permanent secretary must swear that they got a statement of the assets, the keys were turned over, and the vehicles were in safe possession of the permanent secretary. And you see why? Because one of those three ain't got a ministry anymore. Ain't got a ministry anymore. So that Article 183.3c. And I see also some people are calling themselves MPs. I saw something about Honorable Sherrod Duncan, MP, and somebody else, Honorable something, MP. That doesn't exist. What you are is an MP designate. You are an MP designate. That's all you are. But until Parliament is reconvened, and by the way, when should Parliament be reconvened? Because this now seems to be the mystery. Well, you only have to go to Article 61 of the Constitution. So today is Civics Day. Civics Day. That's why we have this program. Learning. Today is Civics Day. Article 61 of the Constitution says, an election of members of the National Assembly shall be held on such day within 3 months, after every dissolution of Parliament, as the President shall appoint by proclamation. 3 months. The last Parliament, the 12th Parliament, was dissolved on July the 3rd. July the 3rd. So counting 3 months, and it says within 3 months, within means a day before 3 months in. I would think that will be 3 months. Then that will put us at October the 2nd. Right? That will put us at October the 2nd, the latest date by which the Parliament must be reconvened. Today is September the 18th. So one hopes before the week is out, or early next week, that we will hear about the reconvening of Parliament via the proclamation that is to be issued by President Ali. And when that Parliament reconvenes, or not reconvenes, convenes, because that's now the 13th Parliament. Reconvene with the meaning of the 12th Parliament coming up. No. So let me step back. When that Parliament convenes, it will be the 13th Parliament. And the first order of business will be the election of a speaker. And of course, the speaker will come from the party that has the majority in the House. Okay? So that clearly then is the PPP. They got 36 seats. Okay? A speaker does not have to be, or does not have to come from among the elected MPs. No, that does not have to be. You can get a speaker, as in the case of Mansour Nadir, as in the case of Barton, Scotland, who were not on anybody's list, but who were chosen by the majority to be the speaker. Right? So that would be the first order of business speaker. And then they will perhaps elect a deputy speaker. Now, the convention of the House is that the deputy speaker comes from the opposition. In particular, the opposition with the largest, or the opposition with the plurality of seats. In this case, it's win. However, the PPP in the last parliament opted to change that convention and give the seat, the deputy speaker's position, to the joiner party, a quid pro quo, as you could have seen, because the joiner party never associated with the opposition, even though they were part of the opposition. So it was a quid pro quo with the government. I'm securing the seat. That will give me 34 in terms of voting. And you will get the deputy speaker. Because the deputy speaker gets an additional sum of money. Now, I don't know what is going to happen this time around. The government may very well decide they're not going to give it to Win. The APNU has already indicated that they will not break convention. Therefore, no APNU person will be it. We don't know about FGM and their politics. Amanzo is supposed to be their representative in parliament. She had given the impression prior to elections that PPP is not her cup of tea. But politics, politics is politics. So we don't know if that stance will continue. I would say, though, that it will be a gray day, a dark day for the opposition in terms of unity, were she to be offered and accept the seat of deputy speaker. It will break the quote-unquote unity that is necessary in the opposition. But already there are signs of disunity, and they haven't even met as yet. But we will wait and see. So that will be the order of business. After the speaker is elected, you will then have the swearing in of all 65 members of the National Assembly. Well, I think this time it's more than 65 now. We'll come to it because there are 2 parliamentary secretaries, and I don't know how many technocratic ministers. We'll come to that also, right? We'll come to that also. So let us say maybe 71, because the maximum you could get technocratic minister 4, maximum parliamentary secretary is 2, so that's 65 and 4, 69 to 71. So there will be, who knows, 71 swearing in that day. 71. Only then, after you have been sworn in, can you use the honorific title honorable, whoever it is, comma, MP, member of parliament. Only then. Before then, you are not an honorable member of anything. And you cannot use the designation MP because you're not a member of parliament of any parliament. Get your things right. Civics lessons today. Get it right. Don't be too hurry. Don't be too hurry. Parliament is serious business. Not the got things and so on. I don't know that we're gonna get time for deal with those and so on. But Parliament is serious business. Don't be in a hurry to get to Parliament, unless you're ready, right? So in a matter of days, you're going to be able to use honorable member of parliament, right? So when the 65 minimum, 71 maximum are sworn in, then the opposition will meet. The opposition members, that's those 29 members, will meet, and they will elect the leader of the opposition. The government is not involved in electing the leader of the opposition. Only the non-government MPs will be responsible for electing the leader of opposition. And this is governed by Article 184.1 of the Constitution. Article 184.1. And this is what it says. The leader of the opposition shall be elected by and from among the non-governmental members of the National Assembly at a meeting held under the chairmanship of the Speaker of the National Assembly, who shall not have the right to vote. Okay? Only the 29 people can vote. But the leader of the opposition will be elected after everybody's sworn in as MPs, and that they meet immediately thereafterwards under the chairmanship of the Speaker, and they come up with the leader of opposition. And this is important because I saw a post by Asmo's sister, Anna Mohammed, referring to honorable leader of opposition, Azuddin Mohammed, honorable leader of opposition. He is not the honorable leader of the opposition at the moment. He's designated, perhaps, but he's not the honorable as yet. So wait your time. As they say, don't be too quick to hold a position that is a poison chalice. Because I will tell you, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, that same crown. Why? You see, at Article 184.3 of the Constitution, 184.3 of the Constitution, it says, where 1/3 of the non-governmental members of the Assembly represent to the Speaker that the leader of the opposition no longer enjoys their confidence, the Speaker shall call a meeting of all the non-governmental members, at which it shall be decided whether the leader of the opposition shall be removed from office. The removal shall be effected by the votes of a majority of all the non-governmental members. So you got the uneasy lies the head of the crown. Okay? Let us do a practical thing. So 1/3 of 29 is 10. Right? It's 10. The APN, you got 12 seats. So they already got the 10. They already got the 10. But let's say the FGM also have no confidence in Azuddin Mohammed because of whatever. Then they have the 1/3 where they can represent to the Speaker that they've lost confidence in whoever they put there, and they said they put in Azuddin Mohammed. Okay? And the Speaker under the Constitution is guided to meet with all the members, all 29, put the thing to vote by show of hands. Okay? And if a majority of those 29, now that majority now is 15. And if they say that we lost confidence in Ipachut, he got to go. And a new leader of the opposition is to be appointed. Right? So here's it. If that 10 go to the Speaker and say, hey, we lost confidence in Asmo, it is enough to get the Speaker to convene a meeting, but it will not be enough to remove the loo. Because to remove the loo, you need 15. So let us say you have that 12 of APNU, 1 from FGM, if they're on board, that's 13. So you're going to need 2 more from Asmo's party itself to remove him. Interesting, eh? I know y'all don't know this. And I know a lot of the MPs who go in, they know this also. So I hope they're listening to I hope they're listening to this and they ain't gonna listen to what Demaral Waves or somebody else gonna carry, cut up piece of this program and so on and carry. I hope they're listening to the source of this information. Right? So uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. You only need 2 of Asmo's people to vote with the 13 to say we ain't got no confidence in him. And then he's removed. Here's the interesting thing. There's a recall legislation. But if he gets voted out as leader of the opposition, he cannot activate the recall legislation. Let us say, and the recall legislation is that he would want to activate it to remove the 2 who would have voted against him, to remove the 2 in his party who would have voted against. But he will no longer be in the position to do that if the vote is passed, if the 15 would have booted him out as leader of the opposition. Interesting times, isn't it? You're going to thank that key program on me for bringing this to your attention. Wicked, eh? Wicked. So, Mr. Mohammed Orphan Ali was sworn in on September the 7th. And his first act was to then swear in the Prime Minister, Mark Phillips, and the Vice President, Bar Jagdeo. Let it be clear that his cabinet has 2 vice presidents. Under the Constitution, Mark Phillips is, in terms of vice president, premier inter pares. He's first among equals. Mark Phillips is the first vice president. And I wish sometimes he will get a backbone and a spine and seek to represent the fact that he is the first vice president. Jagdeo is the second vice president. And all of them are merely, according to the Constitution, helpers of the president. Let it be clear, the Constitution does not say that you must name a prime minister going into any elections. But once the president is sworn in, it is expected that he will name a prime minister if one wasn't identified previously. So all this big thing, journalists and everybody that don't read the Constitution, nothing, oh, name the prime ministerial candidate at the last moment. Who cares? Who cares? It wasn't that. Check all the elections prior to 1992. Who was Barnum's prime ministerial candidate before the election? This thing about prime ministerial candidate being named was all the charade that took place in 1992 to soften the image of Cherry Jagan, glasnost and perestroika and so on, world changing, America looking differently, and so on. Haidt had a golden opportunity of consolidating his power, but he believed that he could do things that Barnum perhaps never achieved or tried in all his years to achieve, and went off on his own tangent. I say all of this because people don't have this impression that America was against the PNC. And that's so, that's not true. Not in my book, at least. How you could be against the PNC when Haidt was among the last people to see Reagan as president and was among the first to see Bush as president. They were all singing his praises for upturning Bonham's policies and to remove him from socialism and all this kind of story. It was Hyde's election to lose in 1992. And like in 2025, when it was the opposition's election to lose, they both lost it. They both lost it. And what? Factionalism played a great part. Factionalism played a great part in the loss in 1992. It played a great part in the loss of 2025. Many people don't remember that that same President Desmond Hoyt, who had his problems in 85, was going into the 1990 elections that were due, not with the PNC behind his back, but with a group named CRIPS, with the acronym CRIPS, Committee for the Re-election of the President. People don't remember that. People don't remember that. And by 1991, when perestroika and glasnost and all this thing come, all the Crips ran back to the Cherry Dragon Party. All the Crips. So there was no more creeping. Height was left hanging. Because to go back now to the PNC was to put your tail in your legs and do a mea culpa. Height wasn't known for those kinds of mea culpas. So he persisted in this alone thing. Y'all don't come for me. I know I was there. In the party, but we were very, 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 very close. So when elections were postponed again from 1991 to 1992, that was it. The party did not do the groundwork. It did not do the mobilization. Meanwhile, it was consistently on the mind. How it was forced to make more and more concession. I say forced because many of the party people I spoke to afterwards, they indicated that none of these or most of these things weren't discussed at the cabinet level. They weren't discussed at the cabinet level. No, nothing wrong with that because the Constitution recognizes the president, the all-powerful presidency, and he's the one who can make all these decisions. But one would expect that the cabinet, things that are going to affect your life and so on, that the cabinet must have an input. But I talked to a lot of people and they said many of these things weren't, many of the things that I agreed with Carter Center were never discussed at the cabinet. That is what was told to me by several people. And so you had all the confusion in GCOM. Not today you're getting confusion at GCOM. Tremendous confusion at GCOM in 1992. Thousands of people weren't registered. Thousands of people found their name outside but couldn't find their name in the list inside. That happened in 2025 too. All the tricks were there. And the party literally abandoned the whole election and election machinery. You had a greenhorn who was put in place. Rudy Collins was an excellent public servant, but he was put to do something that was beyond the question of challenging, and he was put to do it while the seasoned and experienced staff of the GCOM were removed. People like Stanley Singh and Jacobs and them, they were removed in all this, reformulation and so on. So you had a weakened GCOM, a greenhorn chairman, and an outsourcing of many of the functions of GCOM to private sector people. Some of them richly rewarded after the PPP came into power in 1992. And Carter calling election based on exit poll and all kind of story. So we are learning anything. It's sad. We're not learning anything. You come back in 2025, you last big youths, and now you got all these different reasons why you last and all kind of things. Things that you don't know. You didn't do anything about it. You didn't do anything about it. But that's another story. I don't know that we can be able to do that here, but we can continue during the time to bring up these things. We can continue doing it. So yes, you don't need to name any prime minister before. The Constitution recognizes a prime minister, but it doesn't say you must name it before going into election. It talks about a prime minister. And it says in the case where a prime minister hasn't been named, any minister being an elected member of the National Assembly could be deputized or named as a prime minister. But like I said, that thing was done in 1992 as indeed also a civic, an ill-defined or non-defined civic was added to the PPP to soften the blow, soften the image, soften the communist socialist image. And they were happy to be able to get Sam Hines because he wasn't the first choice. Let's be clear, he wasn't the first choice. But they were happy to get Sam Hines and put it there alongside Jagan. So you got the binary, the Indian black binary. And that was good enough. That was good enough for the Americans. But it was the PNC's election to lose. And they lost it for whatever reason. Many of them looked fatigued and everything else. The heart wasn't in it. And they lost it. And for 23 years, this country, particularly Guyanese of African descent, wallowed in misery and crime and deaths, destruction, and so on. That is part of the consequences you must face. So yes, he named the prime minister and the vice president. But I would have thought that since he's in a lame duck presidency, and that's what it is, a lame duck presidency, because this is his last rodeo. He can't become president again. He can't compete for it or so on. This is his last rodeo. And maybe it was too early, but I hope he will be his own man during his 5 years, in which he, Muhammad Orfan Ali, could be seen to be the face of things rather than his vice president. That he will be confident enough to take off that halo that was on his head in the first presidency and be able to do things in his name and in his image in this 5 years. There's more acceptability of your presidency in this 5 years than in the first 5 years when you were deemed to be installed. And one hopes that you will make things that will look lasting in your image. In your image. And while you might have been forced to name the vice president early, because you don't have to, but you had to name him for whatever reason, one hopes that you will increasingly assort yourself. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that everybody, every president or prime minister who is sworn in doesn't seek to name their first choice minister and vice president. They seek to name their attorney general. How can you run a country without an attorney general? And the president and the attorney general could comprise a cabinet. You can't run the country without an attorney general. But there was President Ali, sworn in, meeting this group, meeting that group, meeting the Taro group, even gone to meet the president of Suriname, signs MOUs, all of this without All of this without the advice of the Attorney General. Article 112.1. Article 112.1 of the Constitution says, there shall be an Attorney General of Guyana who shall be the principal legal advisor to the government of Guyana and who shall be appointed by the President. The principal legal advisor to the government. You got a president sworn in, but there's no Attorney General. One would have thought that immediately upon the thing, he names the Attorney General, because it's to him that you have to look for advice in the running of the affairs of the government. Can you imagine going to meet the president of Suriname when we got delicate matters like the border with Suriname, and you don't have the advice of your Attorney General? Because you didn't name one immediately upon being sworn in? These are the blunders we make in government. Because I know some of them are sour. He could take advice from any number of liars. No, this is the Attorney General recognized in the Constitution as the principal legal advisor to the government of Guyana. So notwithstanding whatever advice he may get from any other lawyer, the one that the Constitution talks about is the Attorney General. Blunders, 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 blunders. I wonder if Nandalal tell the president, listen, let me see all them decisions that you make while I wasn't there, to make certain that you're covered, and so on. I wonder. And one hopes that this, what I seem to think is a mistake, will not be made in future. You could name your prime minister, you could name your vice president if you want, so on, but make certain you name your Attorney General, because it's to him you got to turn to for legal advice in accordance with the Constitution. He is named in the Constitution at Article 112.1. And then the president took his own sweet time, got it right perhaps, to name his cabinet. To name his cabinet. He says, I see they're reporting that he named a 25 cabinet, a 25-member cabinet. But when I looked at the cabinet and I counted, so let's count with me, let me go. Because you know, you read all over the say how a 25-member cabinet. But here goes. Right? Of course, a cabinet consists of, well, let me go back. He could name a 25-member cabinet, but it doesn't mean that it is only 25 ministers, because a cabinet is determined by the president. So even if the president named 40 ministers, he could name a cabinet of 25, which means he identified which 25 ministers will comprise his cabinet. So I don't know which 25, but they gave the impression as if all the ministers that he named were members of the cabinet, junior or senior or technocratic or whatever, they were members of the cabinet. So he will have to name who are his members of the cabinet, because here I have here. Number one, President Orphan Ali, Commander-in-Chief Armed Forces. He's a member of the cabinet. Mark Phillips, Barrett Jagdeo, Nandalal, who's Attorney General, Gail Teixeira, who's Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Ashley Singh, Minister of Finance. I don't know that he's the Minister of Finance anyhow. According to his designation read out by the President, he is the Minister in the office of the President with responsibility for finance. He's not the Minister of Finance. Then you have UTAD, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Priya Manik Chan, so that's 8 ministers so far, Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. Number 9, Pauline Sukai, Minister in the Ministry of Local Government. Number 10, Onij Walrun, Minister of Home Affairs. 11, Sonia Parag, Minister of Education. 12, Zulfikar Mustafa, Minister of Agriculture. 13, Dr. Frank Anthony, Minister of Health. 14, Juan Ejil, Minister of Public Works. 15, Deodat Indar, Minister of Public Utilities and Aviation. Zulfikar Ali, Minister of Public Service, Government Efficiency and Implementation. Sujan Rodriguez, Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. Number 18, Sarah Brown, Minister of Armenian Affairs. 19, Kwame Mokai, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. 20, Kioma Griffith, Minister of Labor and Manpower Planning. 21, Charles Ramson, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports. 22, Vikram Bharat, Minister of Natural Resources. 23, Colin Kroll, Minister of Housing. 24, Dr. Vinyo Prasad, Minister of Human Services and Social Security. 25, Vikash Ramkisoon, Minister within the Ministry of Agriculture. 26, Ricky Ramraj, Minister within the Ministry of Public Service. 27, Stephen Jacobs, Minister within the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. And 28, Vanessa Ben, Minister in the Ministry of Housing. So that's 28 ministers, 27 of whom are members of parliament designate, right? So that's 27, and they're only supposed to name 9 more members of parliament, right? So let's say 9 members of parliament plus 2 parliament secretaries, that will be 11 more, okay? So you have, so there will be 36 plus 2 parliamentary secretaries. That will be 38 people in parliament for the PPP. So that was 28. 29, so the members of parliament now are James Bond at 29, Zamal Hussain 30, Peter Ramsarup 31, Anand Prasad 32, Sipal Narain 33, Bagmati Singh 34, Vishwa Mahadio 35, Sanjeev Dattadin 36, Alistair Charlie 37, Miska Griffith 38, Tandy McAllister 39, Suresh Singh 40, and Lennox Schumann 41. Now, if I take out one, because President is not a member of the National Assembly, but is a member of Parliament. So if I take out one for the member of the National Assembly, that will leave 40. So where are they getting 2 more from? Maximum they could get is 38. But now 40 have been named. So who among these here have been named innocently as going to Parliament, but will not be going to Parliament? All right? Because they're entitled to 36 plus 2 parliamentary secretaries. I know Tandy McAllister, the name as a parliamentary secretary. I think Miss Griffith may be also a parliamentary secretary. But who else there on that list that is overnamed, so to speak? So that is the cabinet. One that I consider to be extremely bloated, and one that is a disappointment. A disappointment from the standpoint that, notwithstanding all the talk, the pre-election talk of meeting with the people and getting from them, and you're going to see a lot of new faces, and there'll be differences in the way the government doing it. It is more of the same that you are going to get. More of the same. And Sherrod was right last night into saying, what is all this flurry of activity, that you're running, going to meet this person, and so on. Flurry of activity. Would we be seeing this one month from now, 6 months from now? Huh? A whole new minister of sports or minister in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports named, and his first order of business is going to inspect toilet at National Stadium. You send a whole minister to go and inspect toilet at National Stadium. But there's a whole job for the boys. People tripping over each other. People tripping over each other. Minister in the ministry, minister in the ministry, ministry this, new ministry that, and so on. But I will come back to it quickly just now. Let us look at this whole cabinet, bloated cabinet, increased bureaucracy and so on, recycled ministers and so on. Now, from it, I call that there are a few new faces. Yeah, you have the Kiyomo Griffith and the Vanessa Ben and that guy in the sports, Stephen Jacobs, and well, as Ramke Soon and Sarah Brown and Madan Raj, and so they got a couple of new faces there. Almost all of them in junior capacities. Almost all of them in junior capacities. You got 3 ministers who were dispensed with: Robeson Ben, Polari Joe Hamilton, and Anand Prasad. So they lost their portfolios, and rightly so. And rightly so. A few more should have lost their portfolios. But then, I guess 3 is better than nothing. There was one that was demoted from a senior minister to a junior minister, and that's Pauline Sukai. She was a senior minister in the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, and now she's been demoted as a minister in the ministry. As a junior minister, I don't know that she will be attending cabinet. Cabinet is usually the senior ministers plus invitees. So as an actual minister of cabinet, I don't doubt whether she will be there. And a few have been shifted around, of course. Some commanding smaller ministries and some commanding bigger ministries. The most prominent is, of course, Priya Manikchan, who has now gone to local government. Well, among the prize ministries in government are Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Public Works, and the critical ministries of Agriculture, Health, and Education. So those are about the top 6, 7 ministries, plum ministries as you call them. So for Manikchan to be removed from education to local government is a demotion. Yes, she's still a senior minister, but it's a demotion of sorts. First of all, she will be commanding a smaller budget than the one at Ministry of Education. And I thought, this is speaking purely from a personal, I thought it's a disservice to her. Because notwithstanding we may be on opposite sides of the aisle and so on, I thought she did a creditable performance. She performed creditably in the role of Minister of Education. And just when she was beginning to see a turnaround in the ministry and in the education and so on, they removed her. So how do you justify removing a successful person and replacing her with a person whose competence is questionable? I don't know that Sonia Parag has anything by any metric that you can measure of accomplishment, force in the public service ministry. In fact, I believe it's because of our performance or lack of performance at the public service ministry that the public service ministry was handed over to Ashni Singh in the midst of the government. People forget that. And then she was shunted to local government. Now, having not accomplished much at local government, clearly the outstanding matter that is festered more than a sore is the non-completion of the Bamia school. She's now being rewarded with a massive ministry called the Ministry of Education at the time when the Ministry of Education was seeing a turnaround. As I said, Manichan and me are on different sides of the aisle, but you got to give Jackie Jacket. She worked hard in both ministries that she commanded, Forces Human Services and the Ministry of Education. She worked hard. You know, there's no thing in. She has the results to show for it. And she has represented our ministry. You know, a lot of people don't know that she had been awarded an honorary PhD, an honorary doctorate from Lesley University in Boston. She has never used it. And she has never played it up. Unlike one of our seniors who can't do without it, the honorary degree, doctorate, so that he could call doctor, doctor, doctor. Yes, a lot of people didn't know. Yeah, she got an honorary doctorate from Lesley University in Boston, but she has never used it, and she has never played it up. But she is at the ground. She read the right act to those pretenders for the Bamia School, and let's see where that will go. Let's see where that will go, because those pretenders seem to be covered not in the blood of Jesus, but in the blood of the one who apparently wields the power in the government. Then you have Oniju Alran, who has gone from a relatively small ministry, tourism, industry, and commerce, to a pretty large ministry with huge responsibility called Home Affairs. Well, she's a lawyer. She used to be a magistrate. I don't know what is our performance at tourism. You see, we don't have performance reports that are submitted to the National Assembly, even though it's a requirement. We don't know. So I can't pronounce on our performance. If you count it by simple things like tourist arrival and so on, maybe. And I don't know who we call in tourists anyhow, whether they include that come back home Guyanese or Guyanese who are ordinary residents. But I don't know. I don't have the metrics to think her performance. But now she's going to be the face of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Rodriguez has, notwithstanding all the country talks and the allegations and whatnot, she has been shifted from being a junior minister in the housing ministry to a senior minister in the tourism industry and commerce ministry. Again, I don't know what was our performance as a junior minister, but she gonna find out that sharing out house lots was a cakewalk compared to an industry like tourism, to a ministry like tourism, industry, and commerce. I hope she's built for it. And you have other shifts or responsibility taken away. They can't decide what they will do with Ashni Singh. So now they've taken back the public service portfolio from him and given it now to a new Ministry of Public Service, Government Efficiency and Implementation. And they've given it to one of the other newbies, Zulfikar Ali, Haidar Ali's son, who seemed to be making some meteoric rise in the party. He's now in charge of that ministry. As I said, Ali had an opportunity to really reimagine government, really walk the walk, given all the talk that he talked. And so this cabinet, in addition to largely old faces, doesn't reflect the walk, the talk that he had been given, all this thing about digital transformation, climate change, gender violence, and all these things. Those things have not come to the fore. You don't get the sense of the nomenclature representing the urgency and the modernization and the innovation and the investment and so on that required for the thing. So I know it's late, but it's not too late. Were I to give President Ali some suggestions of what the kind of ministries that he should have been aiming for. Of course, the first one has to be separate and by itself, a ministry of petroleum, or if you want, a ministry of oil and gas. A minister of oil and gas. That is going to consume this economy for the next 40 years. And to be hiding it under a Ministry of Natural Resources with a minister whose competence also is up in the air is doing a disservice to your government and the nation. A Ministry of Oil and Gas. A dedicated ministry is required where that is concerned. And if I were you, the individual who's controlling that area, you should have insisted that he either becomes vice president and minister of oil and gas, or he gives up that portfolio to a dedicated minister. Second, I think in yesterday's papers or day before, there is a Keith Bernard who had suggested the breaking up of the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. And I say I agree with him wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly, I agree. The expansion of the economy, the growth, the economic growth, in other words, and so as expected. The commerce, the massive increase in commerce that is expected, ports and deep water, this and all this kind of thing. So just tourism by itself and industry and commerce by itself. So I would have created a new Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to show the importance and the prominence with which I'm going to be attaching to these critical areas. A Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. And the tourism now, I will redesignate the Ministry of Tourism as the Ministry of Tourism, Entertainment, Culture and the Arts. A Ministry of Tourism, Entertainment, Culture and the Arts. Because you're big on entertainment, you're big on hotels and all these things, but those things need they need to be within a frame and to project. And the culture and the arts are lagging. It no longer can be a part of any Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. So I will pull culture out, attach it to tourism, because we can market the culture even as we develop it. That's one of the problems we have in Guyana. Our culture is not marketed like, say, in Trinidad, Jamaica, even Barbados. Our culture is not marketed. We try a little bit of duck curry and chicken curry and so on, but we need these things. That's part of our culture. We need to develop part of our culture in as much as we integrate it in tourism. And we need the arts to have that dedication, not as an appendage to culture and sports, culture, youth and sports, three diverse and distinct things. So I would take culture out from culture, youth, and sport and attach it to tourism. Tourism, entertainment, culture, and the arts. That will be my new ministry. And so the Ministry of Youth and Sports, that could remain a ministry. That could remain a ministry. And it don't need two ministers because you've taken out a chunk of that. Don't need two ministers. You just need one minister. And if you really want to give Jacob a work, then maybe make he the Minister of Youth and Sports. He got youth on his side and he was a cricketer and all this kind of story. And if you must give Ramston a job, I'm sure within the construct that we hear, petroleum, oil and gas, because he go and do a 9 months masters or whatever, and he come back and you call near export. So give you a big ministry. Let us see how he will handle it. But I suspect his competence is in question. His competence is in question. And that's why they didn't want to move him. But you could find other place. I mean, if the nepotism is there already. Right? And then, of course, I would have created a Ministry of Science, Technology, and Digital Transformation. These things require dedicated ministries. They can't be shunted off as units and so on. The digital divide and AI and all these things are massive. They can't be shunted off in little cubby holes. So here's one for you, President Ali. A Ministry of Science, Technology, and Digital Transformation. How about that? How about that? And of course, the environment is going to reign supreme and reign big. So I would have had a Ministry of the Environment, Climate Change, and Blue, Green, and Brown Economies. I would have created such a ministry. Ministry of the Environment, Climate Change, and Blue, Green, and Brown Economies to highlight the importance of the environment, separate from any other thing, climate change that have an impact on this air, and those three economies, the green economy is our forests, the blue economy our seas, and the brown economy our ocean, and oil and gas and fossil fuels and so on that you're born in and so forth. And to crown this off, I would have put back public service with Ashley Singh or with the Ministry of Finance for good reasons. Put it there. Put it there. And not a whole ministry, but a department in, say, of the president. A DOGE, if it's DOGE you want, government efficiency and implementation, put it there under the office president as a separate ministry. Because one gets the impression that you feel that it is only the public service that you're talking about efficiency, government efficiency. But when you speak government, it is beyond the public service. You got to include all the public sector and the other public sector, and all that is government. All of that is government. The constitutional agencies, all of that is government. And I hope Yard, I see he just wake up from his slumber and talking about 25% salary increase and he go back and sleep. But I hope the GPSU is taking note. Because when you attach government efficiency to the public service, you're assuming that it's only the public service that needs reform. And I rather suspect the government efficiency part has much more to do with just reform. It's hiding things like procurement and all this kind of thing that need radical overhauling and so on. And as I said, I don't know that this minister will be able to deal with it. So I will put back public service with the Ministry of Finance. And that DOGE that you're trying to form, which is government efficiency and implementation, you could put it as a unit created under the office of the president. And that has your ear because you like wake up 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and so on. So that will be a unit that will come under your direct responsibility. And then, of course, you got the situation where Edgell Public Works Ministry has been degutted, but he remains a senior minister, and he gets also a junior minister. Because it has been degutted, he has lost aviation, which is fairly large. And I guess he also lost maritime. Because and it's not that maritime is really a public utility, but I'm sure that they haven't really gazetted all the responsibility, or I haven't seen any. But I guess he also lost maritime and so on, and he's now only going to concentrate on infrastructure. But he still retains a junior minister. So you're losing responsibility, but still getting a junior minister. Then Ian Dar, who was a junior minister, he get promoted to senior minister. In now a new ministry called Public Utilities and Aviation. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Y'all remember the Ministry of Public Utilities under the PNC government? It was headed by Rock, R.H.O. Corbin, Deputy Prime Minister. Y'all remember the barge? Y'all think this is the first barge that we got? Y'all remember the barge? Anyway, that was an aside. Corbin did his best. He tried with it, but those were tough times. Tough times back in the 80s there. Tough. So we now back with the public utilities and aviation. Colin Crowell, who was Minister of Water, Housing and Water, he has now lost water because water has now gone to public utilities. She's now the Minister of Housing. And he still retains a junior minister, a Vanessa Ben. Vanessa Ben is now the junior minister in there. So he lost, but still retained. You see when I tell y'all this is job for the boys? Job for the boys. Right? And the Prime Minister's office has lost telecommunications and GPO, post office, because those are utilities. But he also retains a junior minister, I suppose, is information, because the person was information. And So what else would the PM be doing if he has now lost telecommunication, which was a big one, and now lost the Ghana Post Office, because all that now gone to public utilities and aviation, right? So it's a cabinet. Yeah. So not sure what the Prime Minister will be doing. And then, of course, to add to this jungle here, you have 2 unassigned parliamentary secretaries. 2 unassigned parliamentary secretaries. When Polari Joe was a parliamentary secretary under the Ramatara government, he was assigned to the Ministry of Health. There were 2 other permanent parliamentary secretaries in the last 12th parliament that had their own problems, Brong and Vikash Ramkisoon. I don't recall which ministries they were assigned to, but so far we don't know where Mr. Griffith and Tandy McAllister, which ministries they will be assigned to. So you have 2 unassigned parliamentary secretaries. Tandy Griffith might be a bit, I wouldn't say peeved, but she might she might think that she was undone, given all of the backing that she gave to Ali and so on, to only get a parliamentary secretary might be a bit of an underachievement for her. Because a parliamentary secretary, which is a glorified job because they do nothing, they're responsible for nothing, really, because it's the ministers who go to parliament that will be responsible for that particular areas and so on. So let's call it a little bit of a cushy job. But the salary of a parliamentary secretary is $394,864 a month. $394,864 a month. In addition, the person gets a duty allowance of $1,500 per month. Yes, you heard correct. $1,500 a month. And an entertainment allowance. You see, with this entertainment allowance, you can't mean by Fusion or the Door or Applebee's or so on. Because this entertainment allowance is 1,500 Ghana dollars a month. Those outside, that will be equivalent to roughly $7 US. Right? Roughly $7 US. It would be equivalent to. That is your entertainment allowance. You're also entitled to a vacation allowance equal to 1 month's salary. And of course, the big one in there is the duty-free concession, in which you get a completely duty-free, so that you could buy anything. You could buy a 5,000cc car and you will pay no duty or so on. Right? And you're entitled to that if it's a recondition, or if it's classified as a recondition, you're entitled to this duty-free concession once every 3 years. Once every 3 years. Now, for the purpose of valuation and new, a car is deemed to be new if it has 0 to 4 years. 0 to 4 years. So if you buy a car that is 5 years old, it is treated as a reconditioned car. It may be in fairly mint condition, but it is treated as a reconditioned car. And so you get completely duty free. So if you get 2 of that in your 5 years that you are in the parliament, you have done well for the measly sums of money you receive as salary, right? They treat the parliamentary secretaries and the parliamentarians very bad, very bad. Compared to the minister's salary, flat salary is about 1.3 million. Compared to parliamentary secretary salary, which is a mere $394,864. Right? So a minister gets 3 times the salary of a parliamentary secretary. So Tandy McAllister might feel a little bit undone. And then there are multiple set of advisors. Multiple advisors. Advisors here, advisors there. Advisors even to non-existent thing. Ruel Johnson has been named as senior advisor to the One Guyana Commission. Now, anybody know where is the One Guyana Commission? Where is it? When was it established? Where is its office? And so on. But he has been named as the senior advisor to the non-existent One Guyana Commission. There you have it. There you have it. One crossover who said she went back home has been able to pick up a plum and cushy job. She's senior advisor in the office of the president. Senior advisor. That's big money, the boy. Big money. Maybe $900,000 salary a month. Plus perks, plus. She has done well. She has done well. Compared to our good friend, 00 is a mere member of parliament. Mere member of parliament, and he's still singing. He's singing lustily, cussing out and abusing out. Knows nothing about that Wisma Bridge. Poking his nose in matters that he don't know. I don't understand how a lawyer, or at least that is what James Bond says he is, how a lawyer even understand his own training, research, going to the source as opposed to second-hand and third-hand information. And David Patterson, you've done a good job in setting out clearly and concisely the whole matters to do with that bridge. And the fact that they get 70, 30, 70 in favor of the council is due to me after representation by the then Linden Mayor and Town Council. Yes, because Nisil had held on virtually to all the people's money, giving them crumbs. And I insisted that bridge really was something where the Linden Town Council had to have the majority of the earnings from it, if only because it's critical to their revenue. James man, brother man, in terms of ethnicity, you're one of us, unless you are no longer black. But brother, we don't need to do what you're doing. You don't need to do what, because when you do it, people like me, a Guyanese of African descent, it hurts. We don't need to be putting ourselves in that position that you are putting yourself. For what? The elections are over. You have been given a member of parliament. For all the work that you have done, you have underachieved. Because a member of parliament is worse than a parliamentary secretary. Worse. The salary of a member of parliament is $284,300. $284,300 compared to the salary of a parliamentary secretary of $394,864. Yes. The duty allowance for a member of parliament is $1,500, just like the parliamentary secretary. The entertainment allowance is $1,500. Same thing. Where you get a little bit more than the parliamentary secretary, however, is in the allowances. Because in addition to duty allowance, a duty allowance, not duty-free allowance, a duty allowance, and an entertainment allowance, you are also entitled to a parliamentary allowance, right? A parliamentary allowance of $30,000 a month. That's because you're expected to sit on committees, or you'll be nominated to sit on committees, natural resource committee, social committee, public accounts committee, all these committees, committee. So you get $30,000 a month for that. And then you get $8,289 as commuted allowance. So if you didn't know, James Bond, and you're listening, this is what your entitlement will be. And of course, you get the opportunity to buy a brand new car because you're entitled to duty-free allowance. You're entitled to completely duty-free allowance. And you are also entitled to a vacation allowance equivalent to 1 month's salary. So those are your things. Slim pickings compared to, say, if you were named as a junior minister. Slim pickings. But hopefully you may, who knows? They may have other things in store for you. I doubt whether, but my good friend Figgy, I'm hoping and thinking that they may have something in store for you. But right now, you must be a disappointed person because your name hasn't been called. But PVP treats their people well, man. Don't worry. If you don't get it here, then you don't get it in heaven. Great is the reward in heaven. And then you have these ex-ministers. These ex-ministers as advisors. My goodness gracious me. What will Polari Joe? What would Polari Joe be advising the new Kioma Griffith on? What? That is the most disastrous performing ministry that they had. the Ministry of Labor. It was a total disaster. And it has always been a disaster. It was a ministry, I believe, that was one time controlled by Nadir, especially during the time of the bauxite story and at Borbis River. Labor has not performed well in this country. And perhaps the government might have thought about putting CPAL Narain there as a trade unionist, as a person who understands about labor and the laws and so on. Since Gopal, that ministry has not had the intellectual capacity at the ministerial level to deal with the burgeoning labor issues that need attending to. And to put Polori Joe as an advisor in what? In things that he didn't do? In things where he misrepresented the law? Or literally saw the law being broken and turned a blind eye to it? With the person at Bakewell or wherever who are employing people who weren't even citizens or permanent or didn't have permanent residency or didn't have the paperwork. And look, President Al, you can do better. These people don't need advisors' work. $900 million a month. Plus enormous perks. They don't need it. Consider this. Both of these ministers, ex-ministers, Ben and Hamilton, now that they have left Parliament, they are entitled to a parliamentary pension computed at 7/8. 7/8 of their minister's salary. Less any deductions for gratuity that they might have taken or any advances that they might have taken while they were in Parliament. But let us assume that they didn't take any. They will get 7/8 of their $1.3 million salary, plus their NIS pension, plus their old age pension, which, when you add all this up, you're saying to me that these people they're not well off, that they need advisor work, that they will be doing nothing as advisors, but you are giving them cushy jobs as a way of rewarding them for accepting to vacate their office. Because that is what is essentially has happened. They've got a reward for agreeing to go gracefully. Right? When are we going to stop plundering the treasury? In the midst of all of the anger and the that you saw reflected in the low turnout at the polls and so on. Your first thing is to reward these ex-people. The first thing is to put in a bloated cabinet. The first thing is to put in an unimaginative cabinet as we go forward into the next 5 years. I hope pretty soon we could finish this advisor work and let these people go. They had a long run they had. And it's time you let go. You need fresh ideas, fresh blood, fresh ideas to push this economy forward. You don't need nobody from the 1960s and 1970s to drive a 2025 economy. That is the mistake you're making. These people can't advise you on anything. If you want advice, get advisors in these areas I call out there. Get advisors for those places. Digital economy, climate change, environment, and all these different things. Those are where you need strengthening. You need form intellectuals and so on. And labor, you need a quality person, force in the labor, and how to advance it. You got numerous problems in the oil and gas sectors, in the other sectors that are coming up. You're going to have numerous problems in the entertainment sector, because it's not a sector that where labor has concentrated, and so on. You have the whole issue about minimum wage for the private sector. That is a big issue. It's looming. It's looming because you have a cost of living crisis and you have a galloping public sector wage, albeit it's still small, but it's galloping. In other words, then the gap between the private sector and the public sector wage is getting larger and larger. And it can't be a feather in your cap to be for you or your vice president or anybody else to be saying, well, people in the private sector now see the government as attractive and want to come in. Because in an environment where skills are scarce, you're depleting the private sector to shore up a public sector that is becoming bloated and that whose efficiency and the returns are not representative of these people who are attracting from the private sector. I want to go back, while I'm still on this, to Edgill's Public Works Ministry. Public Works Ministry. And I want to, and not only the Public Works Ministry, and this whole government efficiency story and so on, and implementation. You had numerous problems and you will continue to get numerous problems with major projects. I'm not worrying too much about the minor, but there are large numbers of minor projects, but the major projects, island, the gas, the shore one, gas, the shore two, bridge across Borbis River, bridge across Esukebo River, roads going into major highways, ports, and all these things. The talent pool is scarce where that is concerned. The talent pool is scarce. So I want to make a recommendation that is built on what I saw in Canada. I've read take place in Canada. In June of this year, Canada passed what is called the Building Canada Act. The Building Canada Act. And so I want to suggest a similar arrangement in Guyana, a Building Guyana Act, or a Moving Guyana Forward Act, wherever you want to think it. An act to build a stronger, more competitive economy and a more prosperous economy. Such a legislation would allow the government to streamline approval processes to get major projects built faster, right? Projects that will connect our economy, diversify our industries, access new markets, and create high-paying and permanent jobs, as opposed to the temporary things that we seem to be living on these days, right? And for this, you'll create what is called a major projects office, an MPO, a major projects office, which will serve as a focal point of contact to get nation-building projects built faster. This major projects office will develop a project data bank of critical major projects that are of national interest. The MPO, or the Major Project Office, will also help to structure and coordinate financing for these projects, including private-public partnerships as needed. And it will help to create a single set of conditions, thereby reducing the approval timeline for projects, while working to achieve, here we come again, a one project, one review approach for environmental assessments. So in this way, We will be leveraging expertise, right? We will be leveraging expertise. So in this grand office, many places have done it before. Malaysia, Singapore, of the countries that I remember, because I was exposed to a similar strategy, similar. When I went to the Islamic Development Bank meeting in Saudi Arabia in 2016, I went to a seminar there, and I think it was the one on Malaysia that was being exposed in the seminar. And it showed how you can, and they have talent, they got skills and all kind of things, but it showed they had the same problem. Projects not moving, projects get stuck in bureaucracy, you got disapproval, that approval, this permit, that, and so on. And they created this single thing under the office of the president, office of the prime minister, office of the prime minister. This unit that was forced among equals. And they were able to put all the skill sets in there. And they were able to do the major projects and push them along. We have few skills that are diffused all over the place. Some in education, some in health, some in agriculture, some in public works. And there you go, all over the place, all over the place, all over the place. When we say that you don't have skills, you got import skills, we're making a mistake because we didn't do the study, number one. We didn't see whether we're optimizing the skills that we have, but we want to add more because we fixated that more means better. Bigger means better. No. Those two things are anathema to efficiency. Bigger and more, anathema to efficiency. In a place like Guyana, the time is right for a major projects office, a super office that will have all the skills and will concentrate on all the major projects, however you define the major projects. Certainly this gas ashore that has moved from $900 million to over $2 billion because of lack of coordination, lack of studies, lack of this, lack of that. You don't have proper EPCs, you don't have proper procurement people, you don't have thing and so on. Oil and gas, you don't have people who could read meters, this, that, and the tariff. Deep water port, you keep talking about it, nothing being done. Road to continuation to Letem, keep talking about it. It needs financing, it needs study, everything else, we keep talking. We can't even get the little road from Linden to Mabura finish. Right? It's a major project. It's being constipated. Negotiation taking place to take over the Barbries Bridge. We don't know who's doing it. Again, a major projects could do it while they talk about doing the bridge across the Barbries River. You wake up overnight, you're telling me now about Quarantine River Bridge. You can't even do the ones that you got here. You got the Linden one billing, while you can't even maintain the existing one. So these are some of the major agricultural projects that to come on stream, how to deal with our savannas, and so on. This is what the MPO will do. This is what the MPO will do. Right? The MPO, the Major Project Office, will also work to attract domestic and international financing to these major projects, helping to structure and coordinate financing from the private sector and other partners, including the merchant banks that we have here that we don't seem to be able to use, or we don't know what is taking place, and the so-called new bank that they claim that they're going to set up that was similar to Guy Bank, right? We're still waiting to see where those are going to. We're still waiting to see where those are going to go. Well, it's past 10 o'clock. I got too much more to continue, so I will stop here, and I will stop here, and we'll continue next week, God's spare, and then we'll take a look at the elections again, because we can have a good time taking a look at the elections and the different parties. But before I go, I must acknowledge the resignation of the leader of the AFC, Mr. Nigel Hughes. There's no doubt that Mr. Nigel Hughes is a fantastic liar. He has shown his pedigree in the courtroom. But unfortunately, as a politician, we can't say the same. I can't say the same. And no disrespect, because I know that the man, and I understand his advocacy, particularly for African issues and so on. He's gone where many people have not tread and so on. But I don't think he's cut out for politics. This is either his second or third rodeo where he has had to resign. And I think it should be his last. It should be his last. He could concentrate on the areas of great strength, which is legal, and how to push advanced issues in relation to the black causes, because we seem not to have too many of those people around. It's getting scarcer and scarcer as more and more people join the other people on the other side. So I wish him well. I know he was going to do well and so on. As to his party, that has to take a deep introspection. I always remember when the AFC was formed, I always remembered one of their founders being interviewed by the press and being asked the question, what do they expect as a party in Parliament? I think something to the effect as to whether they see themselves becoming president or in the presidency and so on. And I'll never forget one part of the answer being that the two major parties, humongous and so on, and they are looking to be the spoilers. AFC looking to be the spoilers. And I said to myself when I heard that, why would I want to join a party whose major objective is to be a spoiler and not to wrest the reign of power or to go after the presidency? Why would I join a party that just want to be a spoiler? Spoil and rotten are two of the same things. And so it came to a surprise of many, but it didn't come as a surprise as me when going into the elections. You heard the AFC and Mr. Hughes talking about split the vote, and it was picked up by the likes of Amanza and so on. Split the vote. Well, the people did hear you indeed, and they split the vote. Except they didn't split it for you. You forgot to tell them when you're splitting, split it for me. You forgot
Mr.
to tell them
Jordan,
that. Right.
you are venturing into an entirely new topic there. It's 8 minutes past the 10 o'clock hour. I ain't chasing you, just advising you.
No. I was winding up. Quite frankly, I was winding up. No, I said, you end up going to those things, right? So, Kadaki, you're right. Chase me. Gone. I'm gone. I had a good run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, and you're still tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I did serve advance notice yesterday to Mr. Jordan, that he wasn't going to get more than 1 hour. But, when the man speaks, I really don't try to interrupt him and so on. I don't know, it's Thursday, so let me leave you all with a couple tunes, as we like to call them, and then before I say goodbye to you. Get me blow, what do I let me know?
If you need me, I want you to call me. I said if you need me, all you gotta do is call me. Don't wait too long. If things go wrong, I'll go home. If you want me, send for me. I said if you want me, all you gotta do is send for me. Don't wait too long. always said, darling, that I didn't mean you no good. And you would leave me someday. But way deep down in my heart, I know I've done the best I could. And that's why I know that one of these days, it won't be long, you'll come walking through that same door. And I can imagine in my mind that these are the words that you'll be saying. I still love you, always thinking of you.
I'm thinking this song should be dedicated to James Bond from the APNU group, from the PNC. What do you think?
I still love you, always thinking of you. Don't wait too long, just to pick up your phone and I'll come home right there where I belong. Told you that I love you. Well, if I didn't, darling, I'm sorry. Did I reach out and hold you in my loving arms? Oh, when you needed me. Now I realize that you need love too, and I spend my life making up to you. Oh, I forgot to be your lover, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Music day. Let me put a pause on the music day. You know, listening to this one, it sounds as though this got to be a dedication from Aubrey Norton to Sherwin Oda and the likes of those who left the party.
Have I taken the time
All
to share with you all the burden that love was there? And have I done?
Listen, I must take a break from the music again because I want to say good morning, Body UC Guyana. Jambo Ndugu. Bonjour, como vai você? That's my elder there, that's my mentor, that's my father. Body UC, stay strong, big up yourself, enough respect, enough love from now till eternity. Ras Kofi, blessings, man. Thank you for tuning in and making it possible for Body UC to at least hear the voice of one of us who he has spent so much time molding. Thank you.
Little simple things to show you just how much I care. Oh, I've been working for you, doing all I can. But work all the time didn't make me a man. Oh, I forgot to be your lover. And I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you somehow, baby. I forgot to be your lover. Gonna make
Shout out to all the y'all who run out for the communities and go and join win.
it up to you somehow. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I forgot to be your lover. I don't wanna lose this good thing that I've got. 'Cause if I do, I will surely lose a lot. 'Cause her love is better than I'm not superstitious about you, but I can't take no chance. You got me spinning, baby. Baby, I'm in a trance, 'cause your love is better than any love I know. It's like that.
I am sure all of us, a whole lot of us, many of us, most of us in the APNU are left in a trance because we've seen the love that the people have for us.
Thunder, lightning, the way you love me is frightening. I better knock on wood, baby. No secret, that woman is my loving cup. 'Cause she sees to it.
All right, so you might be wondering where we are. Still in Buxton at Club Twilight. That's where we are. So Club Twilight also has like an Airbnb as well. So you could come, drink, drunk, and come in the back here and lie down. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. And the people come in the room and so on. The bed sheet matching the blind, matching the carpet, matching the this, matching the that. We know what we things in Buxton don't play with we. So definitely if you want to come and you may be having a wedding or whatever and you just want to overnight and just have a good time because you're going to be drunk. We got too much road accidents. So you definitely want to come drink, have a good time. They have several rooms that you can rent. You have your toilet, you have your bath, you have your sink, you have your dining area, you have the bed. This is nice. I like it. Anyway.
Mortal said, your neck look rich, be careful. Well, girl, Mortal, if they're gonna rob me for this little fine chini, I'm not a jewelry person. I don't wear a lot of jewelry and so on. And so I was gifted this little fine chain. That's about you need to wear some silver to keep the evil away. And we got a lot of evil in this country. So take the advice of wearing this little silver chain.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T and W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Ramvelt Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T and W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
To Amsterdam, I think I only get 3 calories. You see, when the function finish, right? The egg keep them people in it. Oh my goodness. And it's like, I said, we got whole cover toast. It's like, let's have a little. Mrs. Amsterdam, everything shine. I haven't gotten to taste anything. Because like I said, I just eat 3 calories. Everybody complimented the stuff. It was tasty. All of them munch down and come back and load up certain places you can go and get proper stuff, but so more than enough. I appreciate the variety options.
At Lou's Kitchen, it's no Ivory Coast. Call us for the best in Creole food. 653-3205. Lou's, the original Creole chef.
Abigail knows good food. Abigail could attest to good food, Abigail knows good food. And so y'all be like Abigail, be smart. Call Luz. Call us. Let's cater for your needs. Tomorrow we're doing a mixed meat cook-up. I want to make the mixed meat cook-up. the bomb. I want some salt beef. I want some fresh beef. I want some chicken. I want some chicken foot. We don't do pork, so I can't put no pork inside. I gotta stay 100 million miles away from pork. Otherwise, I can stay just saying you're fatter than you know me. Right? But hey, I could call and place your orders, and you can get your stuff. You can enjoy a good mixed meat cook up tomorrow. Somebody said, Mr. Amsterdam, this is good music. This put him in a nice mood. Mr. Amsterdam, Linda Webster said, making it. Linda, pay me for the rest of the day, man. Y'all pay me for the rest of the day. I could play music all day. I love music too. I love music too. It's so let's go to another track before I leave you.
Consider me.
No, I played the music for you yesterday. I want today. Let's see where we're going.
Searching for my baby. Yes, I am. Searching for my baby. Yes, I am.
A lot of people are still searching for the parliamentary seats that they expected to get, both on the opposition and both in government, or on the opposition side and on the government side. A lot of people jump ship and they contour themselves hoping that they can get seats in parliament. I tell you already, I born with my own seat. Sorry for y'all. I born with my own seat. So I sit in a me seat, or I sit on me seat on a seat. All I was searching for you, baby. I search your seats.
Searching for my baby. I'm searching for my love. I'm searching for the one I adore. If I find her, I will. I'll never let her go.
No.
I'll never let her go now, baby. I love you. I need you by my side. For my love, for my true love. I'll never hide now, baby. No. I'll never hide now. I wonder why you had to leave me this way.
I'm sure I know this might be Harvey's chorus. I wonder why they had to leave this way. Oh God, they could have shown them decency and be a little strain.
Sorry, darling, that I made you cry. Forgive me.
So yesterday the WPA had a press conference and I was unable to live stream it and so on because I had my own commitments and so on and so forth. And I understand all set of people in the media asking, well, Kidaki left the party, Kidaki resigned from the WPA, Kidaki quit the WPA and so on and so forth because he hadn't sent it to Parliament and so on and so forth. Let me tell you something. Being I know. Now I didn't say like the palm tree, we're gonna be bent. The breeze gonna blow, we're gonna be bent, but we're gonna come back stronger. You understand me? I ain't going no place. I will continue to serve my people. I ain't forming no other political party. I ain't going to no other political party. I will continue to serve my people. When I done with the WPA, I done with active politics and I will continue to serve my people. So nobody gonna be searching for me.
For the things I done to you. Come on, give me one more try.
Searching, baby.
I'm searching for my love now. I'm searching for the one I adore. And if I find her, I'll never let her go now.
No.
Searching for my baby. I'll never let her go now. Searching for my baby. Make it all right. Searching for my baby. I get so lonely sometimes.
Okay, I'm preparing to leave here. It's 25 past the 10 o'clock hour. You can't say I haven't had enough, and you have had more than enough. I am going to work on a strictly musical program, perhaps strictly entertainment. Sometime I am still reformatting what CAMS TV will be doing. under the name Rams Communication and all of that. So we're gonna work on that. But I want to leave you with this song, and I want everybody who hears this song to think. Think. A lot of times we have people around us, we have assets around us, let me call it that, and we don't place value on them. We don't see them for what they're worth. And that 1 minute, that one moment, that one day, when they are not available to us, then is when we start to think, oh shoots, we didn't recognize that there was so much value in this thing or so much value in this person, right? So I want to leave you with Joe Tex. I want all y'all to listen, whether you're a politician or not, whether you're a social activist or not. Once you're a human being, I want you to listen to the song, pay attention to the lyrics carefully, and make it a part of your decision making. When you're making your decisions, think about this.
The better hold. You had the better hold on. Hold on to what you got. You had the better hold on. Hold on to what you got. 'Cause if you think nobody wants it, just throw it away, and you will see someone will have it before you can count. 1, 2, 3. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Listen, fellas, you know it's not all the time that a man can have a good woman. A woman that he can call his very own. A woman who will stay right there at home and mind the children while he's gone to work. A woman who will have his dinner cooked when he comes home. Where some men make mistakes when they go out and stay because they feel that no other man wants his woman but him. But listen, if you think no other man wants her, just throw her away, and you will see some man will have her before you can count. 1, 2, 3. Yes, they will. Yes, he will. Listen, girls, this goes for you too. Because you know I've seen so many women who've had so many good men in life. Men who would stand by them through thick and thin. Men who would go to work every day and bring home their hard-earned pay. Men who would give their women anything that their little heart desired. Where some women make mistakes, when their men go out and let them play, they would stay because they felt that no other woman wanted him but her. Listen, if you think that no other woman wants him, just pitch him out in the streets, and you will see some woman will have your man before you can count. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you will. Yes, you will.